It's time for Pokemon Conquest, and as you know, I am your host, DeoGenZ. It's been a while, guys. Sorry about that. 4 more episodes until the end of the series. What? Oh, no! I'm just kidding ya. But this is one of the 2 training episodes we need to do before we get to Nobunaga's lair, Dragnor. And I'm warning you, at this point, people, this is where you need to get your butts in gear in training your dragon types and or ice types. Looking a little ahead into the future, I find it not so friendly to be raising a dragon type from its base form at this point in the game. If you went ahead, entered in the Dratini code, and got yourself a dragon Pokemon on the warrior that it's most best linked with, then it might have been worth raising in the beginning, because at this point you would at least have Dragonair, and if you invested more training, as I'll do in this episode and the next, then it's possible to get to Dragonite. Maybe. It does take a very high link, and it depends on your patience. It's not that training at this point in the game is difficult. For sure, you want to make sure all of your teams around Ronsei are delegated to do something, whether it's searching for new allies or it's training up your stats, which you should be really working all warriors at this point to do, since this is the final jaunt to Nobunaga's castle. You can still go ahead and try and find that fat squishy bug type warlord. I realize now that it takes both Oichi and my main character in order to get him to join, so it wasn't just enough to beat him in 4 turns or less. Thanks to all who commented on that. Good to know! But he will not be helping us very much in the end with Dragnor. So it's hard to raise a dragon type Pokemon because, as they are in the main RPG, it takes so many levels to get them up to their evolutions. It takes such a high percentage of link with the warrior to get them even to evolve. And here's why I say don't waste your time. Do scan Cerebi. I don't have all the names memorized in my head, but do scan Cerebi. It's a perfect database. I use it all the time. Go to the Conquest section and look up the standard warriors and who they best link with, because you'll notice that you don't have every single one of them. They're only accessible in certain missions in the post-game. It's not even really the post-game, it's kind of how the game continues on, but Nobunaga is the big first boss. Once we set him straight, everything will be okie dokie. But what's also excellent is if we run into that shop girl who's wandering around Ronsei, which you'll have a higher percentage of a chance to find if you're doing this kind of training montage like I am now. Okay, I have speed fast forward on this times 3, but it will still go fairly quick for you, making sure that all of your warlords around are delegated. This, what I'm doing now, is even extra bonus experience, and you don't have to do it once you get to the point of, oh, I just want to see evolutions, which is a very handy way to get those Magikarp warriors to evolve their Pokemon. At first I thought, oh man, I was going to have to find some niche spot for a Magikarp to use Splash. You can only use him on areas that potentially had water for him to run away to in the corner, but no, thanks to the powers of delegation, I never have to see that Magikarp until he's a Gyarados again. Yay! But that's a big part of the strategy training in this game and what makes it differ from something of the main RPG. And there you're taking Pokemon by Pokemon, leveling and manipulating their stats one by one, trying to get the desired level and strategy with the team of 6 that you put together. Here you have a team of 6 warriors, but they also have different Pokemon they could use, and each warrior has their best link with someone. Going to Nobunaga's castle, you definitely want to have as many best links, evolution, as possible. Right now, I believe that Vaporeon is best linked with me, so it may not be an ice type. I may not have had the patience to train it up to a Glaceon, but it is already best linked with us, so it should still be pretty strong. And hopefully, well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Nobunaga has. It'd be bad to overpredict before we even get to that castle. But I can tell you, bring ice types. Ice types are a lot easier to raise, and there's plenty of them in the new icy kingdom of Nixstorm. You'll have a nice amount of Cubchews and Snow Runts to go after to link with your warriors. That's where Sarah becomes in handy, knowing which warriors you've collected thus far. Coming to this point, not really have to be concerned with getting every single one in the first part of the game, because as I mentioned, it's impossible. But you could see of the warriors you have which will be most compatible with the ice types in Nixstorm, and it's funny because Mitsuhide seemed as one of the most loyal subjects of Nobunaga, yet his final undoing will eventually be the undoing of Nobunaga. I tell you, all they had to do was not include the ice region, make it maybe past Dragnor, and then the game would have been 10 times harder. I'm serious, you need ice types. Not having at least maybe 2, you want at least 2 for a backup, and there's multiple dragons who are going to be wrecking havoc on us. This is why I take the time to do this training, because it lets us in depth talk about some more strategy that we may not be able to focus on once we get into the final arena, because once we're there, arena, what am I talking about? Anyway, once we get there, once we are in Dragnor, we will not be able to turn back. Or we can, but then we gotta do a whole nother training montage, and I just don't want to do that. So, we're gonna train right the first time, and make it count. So, what's pretty easy if you want to speed past all of these battles to do is go to a region where you have your one non-delegated team, because that will normally be where your main character is. I don't believe it will allow you to delegate them if every other region in the area of Ronsei is under some delegation. So, what you have to do is go to an area that has one of those mining situations, or even a Panagiri shop, because that's a nice fast thing to do that will actually increase the bond between warrior and Pokemon. So go to the Panagiri shop, go mining, and then the rest of the Ronsei region, all under your delegation, will do what they do and gain experience and bond with their warriors so they can evolve. You have to reach a certain best link with each Pokemon, and sometimes under certain circumstances, like we just saw there, for them to evolve. So evolution does happen. If you're just coming onto these videos and wondering what the heck is this game, it's Pokemon Conquest. Definitely check out the playlist on Planet Poke. But for sure, you have evolutions. They don't come as swiftly, maybe, as the RPG. You do have to work a bit harder for them, and it does take strategy and focus, because you can't leave a set of warriors you want to evolve. You can't leave them off in some region of non-delegation and never go to that area and utilize them and expect anything to happen. It's like leaving a Pokemon in the box and then expecting it to evolve when you take it back out. Oh, what? I put my Haunter in the box. I thought if I traded it with myself, box to my team, maybe it would evolve into a Gengar. No, it doesn't work that way, as it doesn't work with no training on all of your team throughout the Ronsei region. In a way, it kind of supersedes the model of 6 Pokemon to handle at a time, and you're taking on an entire nation at this point. We've essentially claimed almost everything but Dragnor. We have to control an entire nation of Pokemon and warriors to work at our side and train their Pokemon right, to make sure that they have the most optimal situation. I know for sure some of those minimal warriors that we never will be seeing because I just don't need their power. I'm sure they're not exactly best linked with the right Pokemon, but they might be in the right range. And given more time to train these guys, which who knows what we'll see in the future, if we are going to encounter all of these regions once more, we'll see. But if I do go ahead with the 100% run of this, which I am thinking of doing, I will eventually have to get those final evolutions. So we'll have to scan Cerebi once more to see what that's all about. That's what I love about the internets. You don't need to have $1 million bajillion dollars if you want to do some kind of gaming commentary or review online, because it's not just your opinions out there and it's not just your information. So you're already building on the backs of behemoths, those who've had the time to input the information into the web into a simple Google search, and then you can further flesh it out with graphics of a walkthrough or something like that, so it reads itself to you. This is Cerebi coming at you. Not really, but the information is from Cerebi. So in that sense, it's great because it keeps compiling on top of each other, getting even more awesome, as our team is now. Now you understand why I had to do all this fast forwarding. If this was at normal speed, and this is already a long video, you guys can see, I felt bad for not producing any Conquest in a while, so I wanted to give you the fullest experience of training. But you can see if this went at a normal pace, we'd be here forever. Forever! But it's not so bad when you consider that you don't normally need to be having a computer, or maybe you're watching this on a smartphone. That would be even cooler, because then it's like portable gaming on portable videos on the go. I don't know, that's the perfect thing about Game Boy, that it always was for me, and now 3DS, is that it goes around with you and you can pull it out at any point when you have some free time. So if you put it into sleep mode, just close the lid and then pull it back out. Oh, look, I'm still in this Conquest match, and although I don't have the fast forward editing powers of DeoGenZ, I could still do this fairly quickly. And I believe the next episode maybe we'll do less battles, more mining, see about getting some more monies to get the shop items. Oh, another evolution. Another resolution through evolution. A Whirlipede, that's nice. One more step, and we are on Venipede. And that's perfect, I've actually wanted to see that evolution. Or not Venipede, sorry. We are on Scolipede next. But I've always wanted to see that evolution. I thought the Scolipede that we faced back in that ghost town was pretty menacing. It didn't want to die, and it kept poisoning our team. So it would be cool to have that toxic guy tailing around on our team instead. So here's something that I've tried for training my own body to do something differently. Trying to train my endurance, perhaps you could say, because I'm one of these people with a high metabolism. I'm thin, and not by any efforts on my own, other than playing lots of video games. But it kind of sucks because I always get hungry. Always need to have food! But I learned recently that I can train my body to, instead of burn glucose, which is the immediate energy to your body, the immediate sugars that your body is using, in order to burn that slower and try and burn some of my fat reserves. Even though I am thin, everybody's got some reserves. I'm not dangerously thin because I'm eating all the time. I need food, and it's very doable when you have your body trained to burn fats. And this is excellent. Now we have a powerful ally on our team to take on Dragnor. Maybe. I might have to run some tests. If it's not strong enough, that won't be good. So how do you do this? How, DeoGenZ, do you get your body to not break down your immediate energy so that you keep needing immediate energy all the time? I too maybe have this problem. Some of the symptoms of this is sweaty palms, and for no reason, and just always sweaty palms. Always needing to eat, as I mentioned before. Dandruffy! What the hell? Figuring it all out. But I found out that if you put some butter or coconut oil in your coffee in the morning, that little bit of oil, and since it's a medium chain fatty acid, I don't need to get scientific on your ass, but since it is a smaller chain of fat for your body to take in, it's easier to be broken down, so that it's not stored as difficultly as the long chain fatty acids. And the reason that they are stored so much better and they compile onto you is because of the shape. I actually saw the molecular shape of this in one of my past classes, and it's because they are all column shaped, so they stack onto each other. That's why it's not good to have those. It's not very easy to break them up. The medium fatty chain acids, you can sustain yourself on that all day. I haven't even had anything to eat yet. It's 9:53. I got up at like 7. Just had a cup of that with some coconut oil in there, and it's no different than putting creamer in your coffee. Maybe it sounds nasty if you think of it as butter, like Yikes butter, but I tell you, it does help me sustain my energy throughout the day much better. Before, coffee just gave me the shakes. That's another side effect of always having a high metabolism. If you don't have food in the area, you're just going to have an energy crisis. This kind of prevents it in a great way, where before it would encourage that to happen. Caffeine and me, we've got an interesting past, you know. I've found different voices in myself because of caffeine, and I've also gone on too much of coffee binges. So to have it back in my life with just energy preservation in mind and only 1 cup a day, it's much better. It feels like I'm actually getting something from my cup of coffee instead of being robbed of hydration, because I don't know if you know this, it's a diuretic, coffee is, and actually makes you thirstier. So you can drink that all day, even if it's icy, and your body's going to actually shrivel up from the insides out. No! Well, you just release your water by having to pee a lot, and you think that's great. You think, oh, look at all the coffee I've drank. Of course I have to pee. It means I'm releasing all the excess liquid. No, you're releasing most of your essential body liquids. You're mostly made up of water, friend. And me too. We're squishy water people. That's why it's not great for us to be attacked with Pikachus. Really think about it. Ash, he should be turned into a pile of ash at this point. You know, after all of the Pikachu blasts he suffered. And Team Rocket too. Let's not forget them. They probably suffer the brunt of Pikachu's dangerous Thunderbolt more than Ash does. They should be completely emulsified at this point. They should be vaporized by Pikachu's thunder. It would just not let them last. Because we are mostly water things. But it's interesting when you mix water with oil, and it takes your body a little bit longer to figure out how to process it. It says, okay, we don't have to always go after the immediate energy you just ate. We're going to look at the reserves. We're going to take those. And we're not going to stress your system that much. So you can go about your day. And that's awesome. So try that out. I don't know if many people here on Planet Poke are big coffee drinkers, but if you are a Cafe au lait fan, a spoonful of coconut oil keeps the energy in yourself. Helps you process it better. That is perfect! Now that your Cubchoo has evolved into the burly Beartic, we'll have no troubles taking on Nobunaga. At this point, I'm just going to show you the end sequence of all of our training's work. After a couple more times digging through the mines, eating Ponegiri, Darumaka finally evolved. We found him in Hideyashi's place. Wonder where that guy went off to. So it's good to see his Pokemon evolve. Oh, and a Haunter. Excellent. One step closer to my favorite, Gengar. But that Beartic is probably one of the most vital linchpins in our team that we will take to Dragnor. And it is sort of risky. While there's plenty of Cubchoo, like I mentioned before, running around in Nixtorm. Oh, I'm glad that I got this. Scrafty. I was about to say Zuruzuken. Thinking about the Japanese name still from the original Japanese white. But anyway, with that Beartic, its only move doesn't have a high accuracy. I believe it's Icicle Crush. So this is why I was recommending you have at least 2 ice types on your team for some backup. Because if Icicle Crush tends to miss, that can sometimes happen, luck of the game just is randomness, and it keeps it interesting, well then, you might be taken out pretty swiftly by the powers of Nobunaga and his fearsome army. But check that out. We've got our own dragon to take to Dragnor. I know it's a flying fire, but Charizard is on our side. And come on, when I was a kid, I always thought of Charizard as being a dragon type. Before I even knew there were dragon types, before I even knew there was anything of that type. before when I was just picking up the game and saying, ooh, that looks like a cool Pokemon. That must be a dragon. Gyarados, another Pokemon that I would think could be classified if there was a third subtype as a dragon. Whew, but that took a lot. Takayore. Very glad that we finally get to see Gyarados. That's why I didn't want to take any more of your time. You can see it's already almost a half hour this episode, and we're still just going through evolutions. Imagine if you had to see all the training I had to do to get these guys. And it's not difficult. You know how I said before there's not much grinding? Okay, if you show up to Dragnor with not many ice types, not even one dragon type on your team that has been with your team since the beginning, you're gonna have a tough time and maybe have to grind. So this, I suppose, would be the last possible point you could grind, but it's all for the greater good of your warriors. Look at all these cool evolutions that we get to see, and we'll have to work with in the future if we ever get to come back. Oh, take 2 on the Magikarp into Gyarados evolution. I love it. Look at that thing. Beautifully drawn out. Looks like it's ready to tear off your face with some Hydro Pumps. So funny. I remember Hydro Pump, seeing the animation for that in Crystal, and it came from the ground, and thought that Pokemon would smack the ground and water geysers would shoot up from the ground. Until I saw the anime, I thought that's how Hydro Pump was animated. I'm like, whoa, water Pokemon must be strong. They can control aquifers underground? Hundreds of miles underground. They can call them into geysers. Oh, and this is when you know you have a perfect link between a warrior and a Pokemon. When you get that little prompt that says, there's something between us. Do you feel the power? Then you know. That's a best link. And that is a warrior you want to keep around. Or, I should say, a warrior and Pokemon combination. Ideally, you want to keep every warrior and just locate them around all of Ronsei, wherever you have free space. But to find the best linked Pokemon, that's the main idea of this game for the most amount of power. You'll have no problem finding and fighting new warlords with that kind of strength at your side. Alright, 2 Whirlipedes, 2 chances for a Scolipede, because like I said, definitely do want to do some more training in the next episode. Not quite ready to go to Dragnor yet. We still have to train ourselves up another ice type. I'm not so sure how we're going to do with that Gabite that we just got. I'm not too sure what its attack is. If it's Dragon Claw, it's probably usable. If it's Dragon Rage, might be usable, but it might just be a larger weakness on our side, because while Dragnor Pokemon, dragon types, are super effectively hit by dragons, if I go in blazing with a dragon, that means I'm vulnerable as well. With ice types, you don't have to worry about that. If they have Dragon Rage though, that's going to take 40 hit points out of us every time, no arguments asked. So it will be an interesting battle. But out of all the training that we've done, because we have gone through so many cycles of months, this rare shop traveling saleswoman comes around, and she allows you to take from her wares many evolutionary stones, a lot of great equipment, and some rare items, some good full restores. So we probably need some more money in order to get all of these things. But take a gander at what items you need. If there's a Pokemon you specifically are looking to evolve, to take into the final fight, or just to own and get its information and see its cool sketch, because we do have a set of sketches after every Pokemon we see. It's kind of like the Pokedex, so you can flip through, see all the warriors you fought, see all the Pokemon you encountered, and enjoy the awesome art without having to go to battle every time.